Hello, everyone. John Henry Soto here. Welcome to JHS Interviews. I am really excited today. I'm always excited, right? It's one of my issues in life. I'm excited about everything, and I'm passionate about everything, and I'm super passionate today because today I have someone that, to me, embodies what the South Bronx and the Bronx in general is all about, and what the future of the Bronx holds. And he's here today, ladies and gentlemen. This is Amaurys Grullon, and he is the founder of Bronx Native. And if I can bring him on here, and there he is. He is
Yeah.
here now.
What's up, buddy?
Here now.
Yeah.
Now I know you're traveling. You're in the middle of traveling, coming from Atlanta. I know you had to go on a trip, so I appreciate you taking the time to be here. This is super awesome.
Of course, my
So like
man.
yeah, I appreciate that. So like I was saying, you're the co-founder of the Bronx Native, and I found you on Instagram, and I was like, well, the Bronx Native, what is this? I started checking it out,
Hmm.
and man, I was like blown away. I mean, you're right. You're right in the neighborhood. I mean, you're right. You're right in the thick of things. Where
Yeah.
I'm very familiar. My mom lived on Brook Avenue,
Nice.
140th Street. I grew up in Southern Boulevard and Westchester Avenue down there, and that was my. So, but it's a really great honor to have you here and to see the work that you're doing, and not just that, but like you're being covered by like New York One, the New York. I have a whole thing here. All these
Hey,
places
nice,
here,
nice.
all these places here have been
I
covering
got. I
you.
gotta update that. I gotta update that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great article here on the New York Times. And I mean, I'm just like blown away by it, and I was very impressed. And you're out there doing it. You're doing something that really matters a lot. Now I want to go back a little bit. I know you're on a drive back in. You're not driving,
Hmm.
just so everybody knows, but
I'm not driving.
right. But just so I want to go back a little bit on growing up in that in the Bronx, and how was that for you?
Hmm.
Did you get that?
Definitely, definitely. Growing up in the Bronx, man. I had a pretty good life. You can hear me? Everything's good.
Yep. Yeah. It's coming in and out a little bit, but you're good now.
Oh, okay, got you. So yeah, growing up in the Bronx, I had a pretty good life. I was raised in Southern Boulevard as well, just like you,
Oh, nice.
Longwood and Hunts Point area of the Bronx. And my parents, I was raised in a Pentecostal household. So I was going to church. I went to PS 62, which is an
Yep.
elementary school right there on Southern Boulevard. Then I went to St. Ignatius High School, St. Ignatius Middle School, which is on Monida on Hunts Point. Then
Hmm.
I went to Cardinal Hayes High School on Grand Concourse. Then I went to Bronx Community College to get my associate's degree in graphic design. Then I went to the School of Visual Arts outside of the Bronx to get my bachelor's in design and film. But I had a good life. You know what I mean? I was able to find inspiration in everything that I saw around me, my neighborhood, my neighbors, the people around me, and I grew a love for the Bronx. You know what I mean? Because this is our home, and there's so much history. There's so much beauty in the BX, and I was always confused of why is the Bronx perceived as this such a negative spot, such a negative borough. And I grew up with that, as a lot of us did. Grew up with this negativity, not only from people from outside of the Bronx, but also from people from the Bronx. Oh, I want to get
Yeah.
out the BX. I don't like the Bronx. This and that. This and that. So me growing up and being able to for the most part, express myself freely and explore and get inspired and do all of these things. I said, you know what? I need to show people what the Bronx is truly about, because this is exactly what the Bronx is about. It's about uh, uh, um, inspiration. It's about beautiful people that come here. They are hardworking. They're ambitious. So much history, so much culture, so much here. So me growing up was one of the main, of course, inspirations for creating Bronx Native and making it what it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I mean, I grew up in I'm a lot older, so I grew up when the Bronx was really
Yeah.
considered really down there. Unfortunately, it was just during the 70s, late 70s and
Hmm.
80s. where in the Bronx, in the '70s you had the fires, right? In the '80s you had the crack, and so I saw it all. I lived through all of it.
Wow.
Um, and unfortunately, I'm a musician, so I was playing guitar. I was playing, in bands and stuff. So it was a little scary for me carrying my guitar, running from the train and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So unfortunately, with full transparency, I will say that there was a moment where I was like, man, I got to get the hell out of here because I'm gonna lose my I'm gonna lose my Fender.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to lose my guitars. So there was that moment. What happened to me was after I moved out. And I still my grandparents lived there for a long time, and my sister still lives there. She lives up on Cortland and one like not too far from where you are,
Nice.
St. Mary's Park and all that area.
Hmm.
And so what happened to me as I got older, I started really appreciating the stories and all the this what it actually gave me and the man I became because of that upbringing. You know what I mean? It was
Hmm.
hard, and I saw a lot of things that I have two kids now. I don't want my kids to see those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I do want them to know where daddy came from, and I want them to know about the
Definitely.
Bronx. And it's one of the things that I've been really in the last couple of years really focusing on, which is why I reached out to you and why I've been actually
That's
on
awesome.
doing a lot of Bronx stuff.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
yeah, man, I totally admire that. That's awesome. Now, did you said you went to for graphic design and film as well?
Yes, yes. So I went first. I went to Bronx Community College for graphic design. Then I went to the School of Visual Arts for graphic design and film. Yeah.
Cool. And is that something that you're pursuing as well as part of it? Because I know you do a lot of video. I
Yeah.
saw you had a music video out that you put out. I think it was like a week ago or so. Or that's when I saw it anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
The
was
music video.
yeah. So now you're doing some rapping.
They,
I was like,
no,
I was
so
like,
yeah, I mean, since very young, I've been a creative. Since the time I was a little kid, I was always drawing. I was always creatively inclined, and that was all I was doing. You saw me, you found me in the corner drawing, right? Just doing my thing.
yeah,
When I was in high school, I started dabbling in different mediums. I started doing videos. I started doing YouTube videos and stuff like that. So we used to do a lot of parodies, a lot of comedy skits and stuff like that. So me doing that video that I posted last week was just me kind of just going back to that place and creating it's really fun when you create something that is entertaining, that has a call to action, that has all of these things implemented in it. So I did that vid, but it's because when I started doing videos, it was through YouTube. We had a team called the Alien Heroes, and we used to create all of these videos and stuff like that. And then after that, I opened up my first business, which was Get Studios. And Get Studios was primarily a creative agency, a studio that provided multimedia services from graphic design to video production to video editing to videography and videography and
I lost you a little bit there. So media services, Bronx.
hello.
See if yep, you're back.
Now I'm gone. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah, good. I could hear you. You're breaking up a little bit, but I could hear you. I just entertain the folks while they break away. I just do a little dance number. Uh-oh. All right. So, um, oh, there you are. Can you
What's
hear me?
up? So
Hey, all
yes,
right.
so I'm good. I'm good. I made it. So where was I? So I started dabbling in stuff. I started Get Studios, but in late 2015, I started thinking of how can I still create my art? How can I do my thing? Um, but how can I implement the Bronx in it? How can I implement social impact and social change? How can I change the narrative and the perspective that people have towards the Bronx through my art and through everything that I'm doing? And that's when Bronx Native really started to build up. It was late 2015, early 2016 when we started thinking about how can we create this brand that creates merchandise that empowers and identifies, but also becomes a cultural hub, a platform for artists, creatives, entrepreneurs, place, and ultimately, like I said, changes the narrative and really puts the Bronx on the map the way it should be put in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, do you get afraid? And this is we're gonna go a little deeper.
Go
Do you
do
get a
it.
little do you get a little concerned about like the fact that when these communities like the Bronx, they're so accessible to like Manhattan? Like I live in, I lived in Hunts Point. I get on that
Yeah.
6 train in the morning, and it goes express. I'm on 125th Street in like
Facts.
20 minutes. I'm in Midtown in 30. You know what I mean? So, that type of location. Sometimes when you get a place like that, like Williamsburg and Jersey
Hmm.
City and all these places that really just got gentrified, which I don't even like using the word, but basically
The
people came
G
in
word.
and yeah, the G word. So, do you get a little concerned that that's happening, or that will happen? Because it's really the tragedy of it is the people that have invested their time and their blood and sweat and tears into the community, that then
Hmm.
these conglomerate companies and businesses come in and kind of push a lot of the people out. And you understand the fact that economics, you have to bring in money to have a successful place. So money has to come in somehow. We
Yes.
can't live in that. Did that concern you at all?
Um, the fact of gentrification hitting the Bronx, of course, is concerning. Because when it comes to gentrification, it's
Lost him again. Don't worry, folks. We're gonna have him on again. I might actually have him on Friday if he wants, if he's down for it. But we were talking about gentrification and the Bronx, and basically one of the things that has happened throughout all these communities is that a lot of these companies will come in and buy these land, these places, and kind of build these places, these or even just take whatever is there and fix it up a little bit, and then charge $2,000-3,000 for the convenience, which is what happened in Williamsburg. A lot of the places in Williamsburg were not really great. I've had friends that lived there. You know, didn't catch any of it. I'm just talking about gentrification right now.
do it up.
So,
I can hear you. What's up?
oh, you can hear me? Okay. Yeah, I couldn't
I
hear
can
you,
hear
so
you. Yeah, I heard the whole
I
thing.
just, I just start talking when I can't hear you. So,
Do it. Do
so
it. I like it. They need the context. Not a lot of people know about gentrification.
yeah. So yeah, like you were saying, it's something that does concern you a little bit, but you can't really be the effect of it because you have to increase your brand, and what you're doing kind of helps that. You know what I mean? It kind of goes really well with helping the Bronx the right way.
Yes, yes. And that's part of the reason why we created Bronx Native. It was a way for us to make our stamp and take hold of what is ours, right? Like you said,
Yeah,
blood, sweat, and tears has gone into the Bronx, into everything we do, and we don't want to see that be taken away by gentrification or by any of these things that are happening. I think that the Bronx, quote unquote, is the last frontier. When it comes to neighborhoods. Brooklyn is basically taken care of, not taken care of. Brooklyn's been taken over. Uptown, when it comes to Harlem, when it comes to Washington Heights, when it comes to all these places that are already being gentrified, and I think now we're seeing the South Bronx being gentrified. One of them being, you know, this, I could get into the logistics of things,
yeah, yeah,
but what I have to say about gentrification is that, like I said before, it brings displacement. It brings these things that harm our people and harm the natives that have been there for a long time, and we definitely don't want that. One of the missions of Bronx Native is for us to really take charge and take initiative and take a hold of our narrative and our story, instead of these people coming into our neighborhoods and our borough and basically taking what they want because they have the money and they have the resources. Why don't we equip ourselves with the right resources? Why don't we start taking financial literacy workshops, sessions, which we do at the shop all the time? Why don't we start taking ownership of land, of buildings, of all these things that we've already been working towards our whole life? But because we haven't been equipped it, or because of knowledge, or because of all these things, we haven't really, had that ownership of it. So
Yeah.
one thing that Bronx Native does promote is entrepreneurship, is the fact that we need to be business owners. We need to be property owners. We need to own our own stuff. We need to get equipped with the right resources, with the right knowledge. We need to be connected. We need to be in the right circles, right? Like I said before, we are not against change. We are not against economic development. We are not against all of these things, because we want the Bronx to succeed economically. We want our streets to be clean. We want all our way of life to be elevated, right? But we have to find that balance. We have to find that happy medium between all parties, right? We can't just let developers or all of these big companies come in and take what they want. There needs to be a silver lining to that. I don't have all the answers when it comes to gentrification and all that stuff, but we are here, we're working hard, and we're trying to make it happen for our people and just for a better future for the Bronx.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you said it best with with education. I think that's really what it comes down to. I think there are a lot of people out there who are totally capable of running businesses in the Bronx. They
Mm,
just don't know how to get to start it. There's a wonderful program in Jersey City that's called Rising Tide Capital, which I actually went to,
it's awesome.
and yeah, and they actually do some great work there. Just bringing in people in the community and teaching them how to run a business and having a business and showing them all the ins and outs, and then they stay connected with them, something like that. Like I can see the Bronx Native becoming something
That's
of a
awesome.
of a,
Yeah,
of a
yeah,
hub,
yes,
where people will
yeah.
come and that's where they gather. This is where you get your information from the Bronx. you know you want to know about the Bronx, you want to open up a business, go to this place, see this dude.
That's
He's gonna
awesome.
point you
I
in the
love
right
it.
direction. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So I
yes,
think
yes,
that's a
yes, yes.
wonderful. Tell me about your shop. So when did your shop open officially?
Yeah, so the shop opened in 2017, October 2017. Um, so the story about the shop is, we're located in Mott Haven currently,
Yeah.
Mott Haven, Port Morris area. Um, in 2016, when we were developing our brand, we were around that area a lot because there was a lot of activity, there was a lot of events, there was a lot of things going on. And there was the spot, which is the spot that we're in now, and literally we were already doing pop-up shops. We did a pop-up shop at a chicken spot called the Bronx Native chicken spot pop-up. We were popping up everywhere. Every time there was a Bronx-based event, we were there with a table selling our merch, right? So they saw what we were doing and stuff like that, and they reached out and said, "Hey, would you guys like to do a pop up in this location?" And we said, "You know what? We've never done something like this. I've never worked retail. We've never had a physical store, but we said yes. You know what I mean? We're gonna do this. We were gonna do this pop up for 2 weeks." So we were basically going to be in this spot for 2 weeks, sell some merchandise, make it a vibe, and that's it. But for us, it was more than just selling merchandise, right? For us, it was more than just getting somebody to buy a t-shirt. For us, we wanted to create a cultural hub. We wanted to create an interactive experience. We wanted to create an authentic Bronx environment, an inclusive platform that anyone can come in, they can experience the Bronx, they can connect, network, break bread together, express, and all these great things. So we have the merch, but we also have events, right? We have open mics, we have financial literacy workshops, we have info sessions, we have cultural events, live music, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So those first 2 weeks were very crucial for us, because it was a test. First of all, it was a test. I said, can we really hold ourselves and have a physical shop, right? Can
Right.
we be sustainable enough, right? Can we sell enough merchandise that we can pay for the rent? And second, can we make a spot a vibe, right? For us,
Right.
it was like growing up in the Bronx, we never had what the shop represents. We never had something like that, a space
Right.
that represents what the shop has. So we wanted to create this dope space that like I said before, people can come in and be themselves, connect the old school with the new school and all these cool things, right? That's exactly what we did. We literally took like about a week to set up the space. Like I said, it's an interactive experience. Anyone that comes in could tag up the walls. We have the Bronx based merchandise all over. We host events almost every week, and stuff like that. After being there for 1 week in the 2 week pop up, we actually sold all of our merchandise
Oh,
in one
wow.
week. So we were like, "Oh snap! Like this is beast! Like this is a thing.
Now,
People
now you got
want
a
to
week. What
buy
are you gonna
merch.
do?
Yeah, what are we gonna do now? We have a week left.
Sell
So
Soto
that
Pico or
was
something.
problem solving. That was us trying to. We definitely figured that out. Um, but one of the main things that we did was start create this little hub. That does big things. This iconic, and we've in through time. We're about to be there for about 3 years now. In
Mm,
October 2020 is us being there for 3 years, and we've became this iconic space where you have to come to the Bronx Native shop to experience the Bronx, right?
right.
You have to come to the Bronx Native shop for one reason or another, right? If you're from the Bronx, if you're not from the Bronx, you have to experience the vibes that the Bronx Native shops provides, right? So that's what we've been doing, and like you said,
Yeah.
we've been featured in a lot of different platforms. Amaurys places. It was one of the first locations that
Mhm.
AOC Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez campaigned at. We've had people like Tarana Burke, the founder of the Me Too movement, campaign at and give talks there. We've had celebrities like Fat Joe, French Montana,
I lost you a little bit,
and
but that's awesome.
a diverse
Yeah. See, what was the last thing you said?
I was talking about the celebrities and stuff that have been to the shop and
Right.
showed love.
I heard Fat
But
Joe,
yeah,
and then after
that's
that,
basically it, man. Bronx Native shop. Oh yeah, no, I said Fat
yeah, that's
Joe,
awesome.
French Montana, um, and just a diverse range of celebs from athletes to music
Yeah.
artists, to politicians. It's been a place of gathering and a place of that really represents what the Bronx is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think I think the reputation is changing, and people realize, rap and was like, I mean, I remember being a kid and walking down the street and hearing a guy rapping for the first time, like on a stoop, and I was like, what is that? Like, it just blew my mind. Like, I had no idea what he was doing. He was like
That's
speaking fast
awesome.
and rhyming words, and I was
That's
like, what
awesome.
is that? And
Yeah.
and then you go to a block party and you got a DJ and a guy gets up on the mic and he's the MC because they weren't rappers, they were MCs. And then they became rappers later. But I was there for all that. So for me it was like such a fascinating experience
Yeah.
now, because I think that the reputation is really, it's being embraced now. I think a lot of, Al Pacino and is also from the Bronx, man, very proud of it, and a lot of
Yeah.
celebrities, like you mentioned, from the Bronx. So, do you feel that other stores will kind of like take notice and kind of go in that direction? Do you talk to other because the corner bodega sometimes, you'll have like one block and you'll have like four bodegas on one block. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up with, there's like four of them, right? And like a block and
Facts.
a half. And
Yeah.
but they weren't it wasn't like a community, it's not that it wasn't a community, but it was difficult to just go to the next door and just say, "Hey, so how's business? Let's team up and see if we can do a block party, and let's
Yes.
represent it. The Bronx Native and all the vendors get together and close up a block and just have music and that kind of thing." Are you getting to
Yeah.
your neighbors
You know,
are cool?
there's always going to be those people or those businesses that are not going to be willing to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? And that's just like life in general.
Yeah, and
But
that's everywhere.
we've been lucky enough to partner up and collaborate with a lot of different businesses in the Bronx. The area in
Right.
Mott Haven, one of the good things that I love most about that area is that a lot of the new businesses, a lot of the new business owners, they are Bronx natives. They are people of color.
Oh,
They
cool.
are people that are from they're from the Bronx, right? And we often collaborate. We often work with each other. I've literally probably worked with almost all of the businesses in Mott Haven. If
Wow.
it's not doing merchandise, it's doing a collaborative event together, open mics at their space, anything and anything to help each other out. Some businesses we do reward cards. If you buy something from Bronx Native, you get a 10% discount at the restaurant. If they buy something at the restaurant, they can get 10% off from Bronx Native. So we try to work together as much as possible. There's
Yeah.
definitely going to be people that are not going to be willing to work and stuff like that. But that's
Yeah.
another thing that we're trying to change, and that's very much a New York mindset. Very competitive, very like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna come to the top. I'm gonna put you down. But we want to eliminate that, right? I
Yeah.
think the Bronx is one of the last places that we really see true community and true togetherness, and we want to continue to cultivate that and continue to push that forward. Because I think it's the only way we're going to move forward and continue to strive and succeed is if
Yeah.
we work together. We're stronger as a whole. We're stronger all together than just each of us individually trying to struggle and try to do it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do remember growing up and having, we lived on a 1058 Southern Boulevard, so it's the building right on the corner, Chester
Yeah.
Avenue, right there. And I think now it's a Checkers at the bottom now. It used to be a bank when I was it used to be a Dimes Savings Bank. That was the bank
Damn.
for
That's
like
that's
years.
another thing. That's another thing. The Bronx needs better food choices, man. Forget about that fast food Checkers,
We had,
McDonald's.
yeah, we
You
went.
know,
I went by. Yeah, I was there not long ago. I was visiting some friends, and I saw Checkers there, and I was like, oh man. I went in and I got a burger. It was actually not that bad.
I
I'm
mean, I'm,
sorry.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, fast food is good. It's good. It's fast. It's all that stuff. But the
Well,
Bronx is the unhealthiest county. The
yeah,
Bronx
yeah,
is
and
the
nothing.
unhealthiest.
I'm not promoting the fast food. I
Yeah,
mean, all the other ones are really bad. I just had to get something because I was desperate. But, um,
that's
you
yeah.
know, one of the things that I remember in that building, I had like so much family that lived there. My aunts, my
Wow.
uncles, my grandma lived there. My mom lived there. So we all lived in this one building. So that community was really beautiful, even though outside was burning. You know what I mean? Like all this crazy stuff is going on. I remember as a kid, like 5 years old, I always tell the story, when I'm talking, I would push the chair to a window and I would look out to see the fires at night because at 5 years
Wow. That's
old,
crazy, bro.
yeah, at 5 years old, I thought it was just cool. I didn't know what was happening. I just thought, oh, let me go see the fires. I'll push the chair out and I'll see a fire almost every night because we lived on the fourth floor.
Wow.
And I would
That's
look out
insane.
and I would see fires. And one of the images that was always burned in my head, no pun intended, was like there was a fire. There was two buildings up, right? And one fireman was here, and the fire was here,
Yeah.
and he was leaning off with the hose, and the pressure of the hose was keeping him from falling in the alley. So he was literally, this was the building, and he was like this and pushing water that way. It was like, and that image with the fire and everything, like it's just like it's something that I've always thought it was almost like majestic. It was like this beautiful
That's
image of like this cinematic almost, and I always thought I'd like to
that's a
recreate that
movie,
in film.
man. It's crazy when you really think about it, and when you talk to when I talk to people that have experienced that and lived through the Bronx in that era. It's very, very, very eye opening. Even though we know
Yeah,
everything that's happening, but to
I
hear
know.
stories like that, it's just like wow.
Yeah,
Imagine if I lived through that would have been it would have been very different. So it's
it
just
definitely
crazy.
changes. It changes. Like, do you remember the film Fort Apache the Bronx?
Yes.
So that was shot right there, right? And
Yes.
So I remember when that film was shot, and this is gonna lead to a question that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
One of the When that film came out, it caused such a stir. It caused such an
Yes.
upset because people from the Bronx was like, "This is a disgrace," you know. So they
Yeah.
had to pull the film for a little bit and then put an exclaimer in the front saying that the Bronx is under development and the future looks good. And but anyway, here's our crappy story about the worst part of the Bronx. And they put the film out, which I didn't think it was a bad film. It was entertaining, but just to see the images that I'm walking by and to be looked at, that way was so. Your logo has one of
Yeah.
those buildings, and I mean that's the building I would play in. Right? We would go into
That's
these
awesome.
buildings and we would rip the doors off and we would make clubhouses. We would, all the doors from the abandoned buildings, we would just make clubhouses and dog houses if we had stray dogs, because we had stray dogs. So it was really, really like a third world kind of a country viewpoint
Wow.
sometimes. Now, did you get a hard time with your logo, or what made you actually pick that as the logo? I personally love it because it
Thank you.
brought me back, and I was like, it brought me back, but it also brought me to a better place. It
Yeah,
represents me the
and
best.
that's what we try to do with our logo. One thing that I've noticed is that everyone that looks at the logo tells a story to them. Everyone,
Right,
it could be a bad one, it could be a good one, it could be one that started bad but now is good. But everyone that
right,
looks at the logo, it tells a story, and I think that's very important. When it came
yeah,
to creating the visual language of our brand, Bronx Native, we knew we had to create something that was very impactful, something that was BX, something that was the Bronx. So we of course had the name Bronx Native, right? Boom, we got Bronx Native. It wasn't taken. It was a dope name. It could be more than just clothing. We're Bronx Native. Boom, right? But then we said, what type of imagery do we want to attach to the logo? And we came up with
broken up a little bit. So I think I actually used to hang out in that building, to be honest. Broken up, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit until you come back. But that building, what I said, I didn't mean that it represents the best. It represents a better future. It represents something that was and something that is almost like a starting point. The Bronx Native. This is where we started from, and now here we are in a better situation. And that's what the image of the logo kind of gave to me, was that sense of hope. Like, wow, look at that. I mean, that was like a legitimate thing. Okay, so we lost him, but hopefully he'll call back in. But this logo, and I'm gonna flash it onto the screen real quick so you guys could see it. Right in here, this is where we used to hang out. We used to actually climb up these things and rip off doors, and then we would throw them down, and then we would build like clubhouses and whatever. And some of these places, people actually sometimes still lived in there, like squatters. And they would cover up some of the windows and they'd start fires in there and have mattresses. So we sometimes would walk into a location that we didn't realize somebody actually was living there. It was somebody's house, but it's just opened up, so we'd get chased out or we just run out, whatever. But a lot of dangerous things happened back in those days, and one of the I think he's back. He's back.
I'm back.
Hey, you're back.
What's up? Sorry about that. It's like
So
where
yeah,
we at right now? We're like driving through Virginia, and there's like, I guess, like dead spots, and the service
yeah,
keeps
yeah.
going down. So
It's all
apologies
good.
for that. Definitely.
Yeah, no worries.
You want me to
We'll do this
continue
again if
where I
you.
was at?
We were talking about the logo.
The logo, yeah, yeah. So we were thinking about what kind of icon do we connect to the name and to the brand, and we said a building. A building is something that most people from the Bronx, they've lived in a building. Everywhere you go, just how there's a bodega, every corner. There's a building
Mm.
every other block and stuff like that. And then it came to us, what type of building should we use, right? Should we use a new nice building, or we should use a building that represents, kind of like the old school and where we came from, right? We definitely wanted to capture a lot of the old school Bronx and connect it to the new school, right?
Hmm.
And that's what we did with the logo. So you see, like, there's a very like modern font, um,
Yeah.
sans serif font, Bronx Native, bold,
Yeah.
clean, right in the top, and then is followed by the building, that
Yeah.
represents kind of like that old school, that history, the struggle,
Right.
strength, and
That's
all of these things that the Bronx is about. We have
right.
gotten through time a couple of people that have, oh, the Bronx doesn't look like this anymore, blah, 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 and say
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, mostly everyone, the logo and the aesthetics is received, with a
Yeah.
lot of love. People love it. Like I said, it tells a story, and that's very important as a graphic designer or as an
Hmm.
artist. We need to be able to paint stories. We need to be able to tell stories through images, right? And I think our
Hmm.
logo is one of those images that tells so many stories, just
Hmm.
with one icon and a phrase on top of it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it would not have worked if you put a modern building there. Like, I don't.
Facts. Yeah.
I would have been like, wait, what? um, but when I first saw it, to me, and I was right before when you cut out for a second, I was just talking about how when I first saw it, I thought it was a good starting point. It's almost like this is Bronx Native. This is the starting point, and everything from here on out is gonna be beautiful. And I think that's kind of like what how I took that representation of of your logo, and I love it. So
Yes,
I
sir.
gotta I gotta
Yes,
get
sir.
over there. I gotta with all this craziness, I was gonna go on your and get some shirts, but I know you've been like busy with all the stuff, and so
Yeah, man, it's
tell
been
me.
crazy. It's been crazy.
Yeah, I know. I follow you, so I know all and by the way, you're amazing on social. I mean, you're so consistent. You put a lot of stuff out there. You really stay active, letting
Thank
people
you.
know
Thank
what's
you.
happening, which is really
Definitely.
important. And taking people on that journey that you're on right now, which right now it's a little
Yes.
bit different of a journey that
Yes.
we're all going through right now. So tell me a little bit about that. And I know you have a GoFundMe going right now that I
Yeah.
want to talk about. I'm going to flash it on the screen as well. So let tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely, bro. COVID-19 hit, right? And it kind of just stirred up the whole world, and we were affected greatly by that. When it first came, we were trying to, stay keep our hopes up. We had the shop open, but on March 28th, the city of New York City, they did the lockdown, and all unessential businesses had to close. Right, we're an unessential business, so we've had to close, and we've been closed for about 2 months now, right?
Wow.
And that also affected everything else. The shop is closed, but also, the online. People don't have money. That people are using that money to survive. People are out of their jobs and stuff like that. So it really affected us greatly. We've lost about 50% of our revenue that we were usually getting, because we do have the online store, BronxNativeShop.com.
Yeah.
But we relied on the physical shop a lot because we got a lot of people who came to the shop to buy merchandise, and we needed it to stay alive. But after COVID hit, we lost 50% of that financial, um, and but all of our expenses continued. Right, the rent still continued even though we're not
Yeah.
open.
Mm.
Payroll, taxes, inventory, cost of goods, all of these things that we still needed to pay. But now, in the midst of this situation and this challenge that hit all of us, so really quickly, as soon as we got there, I got into survival mode. You know what I mean? Into adapt mode. What are we going to do to survive this? Because we are not going down without a fight, man. You know what I mean? We
Right.
already put blood, sweat, and tears in everything we do. We're not just gonna get hit by this and be like, "Oh, sorry, we're gonna have to stop this business."
Right. So he's probably in a dead zone or dead spot again. Um, so anyway, it is Bronx Native.
Hello.
The go. There you are. You're back. Okay.
Let me know. I'm
Go
back.
ahead. You're back.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good.
So yeah, so what we did is we decided to put all of our power into our online store, the e-commerce store. Um, we got my friend had a small basement. We took all of the merchandise to the basement. We made it into the Bronx Native fulfillment center. We cut off if anything. I'm good.
It cuts off a little bit, but I'm getting it. You put the stuff in your friend's
Okay.
basement. Go ahead.
We put it there. We made it into the Bronx Native fulfillment center. All orders that come in, we get the order, we package them, we ship them out, and we just have it in transition right now. And just trying to make our online store the best store we can. We're trying to put new products in there, new merchandise as much as we can, and trying to survive. But we are living in very uncertain times, right? We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Every day is something new. We don't know after the COVID what's going to happen. Are we going to, like I said, we're still getting invoices for our rent. We're still getting invoices for all of these things.
Hmm.
So it took us to the edge of like, okay, we don't know if we're gonna stay open because we have all of these expenses, but we don't have the proper amount of money coming in that we would have had prior to COVID-19. So we created the GoFundMe. The campaign is called Save the Bronx Native Shop, and we're basically urging everyone to donate. You know what I mean? To anything that they can donate to the Bronx Native Shop. Our goal is right now 20K. We've raised about 10K, 10K plus right now. We've been received with so much love, so much positive energy from the community and from everybody, not only from the Bronx but the whole world. Right? Everyone
Yeah.
has been shipping in. Everyone has been buying online. Everyone has been showing love, sharing, commenting, and all of these great things. It's just it's like I said, it's very uncertain times. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and it's really been a struggle for us. And I'm sure it hasn't been a struggle for a lot of small businesses, restaurants, and all of these things, especially in the Bronx, because we have been one of the places that has been hit the hardest with COVID-19.
Right.
And the SBA money from the city, we have been giving the least amount of money when it comes to all of the loans and all of the grants that the city is giving, right? So, and it's nothing new. The Bronx has been underserved. The Bronx has lacked resources for a long time. It's something that we've been dealing with for a minute now. But like I said before, man, we are survivors. We are fighters, and we're gonna fight through this. We're gonna make it happen. And I tell everyone, even though we're going through all of this negativity, there is a lot of positive. There is a lot of blessings that have come to us, and I'm sure have come to other people. So let's stay up. Let's stay positive. And like I said before, and like I've been telling everyone, the Bronx will rise
That's right. That's right.
again. Let's get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great. And I'm a big believer of what you're doing. So I'm definitely gonna big do a big push and help you out and
Thank you.
send
Thank
it
you
to
so much.
all my friends and be like, you gotta buy a shirt. I don't care if you're from Wisconsin. You buying a damn Bronx shirt. I don't care where you're
Facts.
from. I got some phone calls to make.
That's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, I think that you're right. And the Bronx has kind of in the past. I mean, if you look at the Bronx, the history of the Bronx, like all the highways that in Manhattan, God forbid you have a highway going through it, they're all on the sides, right? Everything, all the FDR and the West Side on the side, and then we go into the Bronx and you just smash right in the middle of it. You got Cross Bronx, you got Bruckner, you got them right in the middle of there, and then all the trains come
They
above
built they built highways so people would pass right through the Bronx. They
through the
didn't
Bronx.
want people to come to the
Didn't
BX, man.
That's right. I
And
know it's
now
such a
you try to come
disgrace.
to the Bronx.
Yeah, and people forget. We got the Yankees, the most successful baseball team in the
Facts.
history of baseball, is in the Bronx.
That's
All
true.
right. So
That's facts.
let's represent. So llisten, I'm
Put some
I'm really
respect.
yeah, absolutely, man. I'm really grateful. I'd love for you to come back one day, and we break down a little bit more on the store and the shop and what's happening. I appreciate you and everything that you're doing and your whole team there. Is there anything else that you want to kind of communicate to your audience and to people out there?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much, my man, for having me on the show, for
Oh,
reaching
it's my
out,
pleasure,
for
man.
showing love, all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Apologies on me, getting back to the Bronx from ATL,
Don't worry about
and
it.
all that stuff. But I'll definitely get on again whenever just let me know, and I'll definitely get on again so we can chat. To everyone out there, man. I'll tell them where they can find me. Our shop is located at 127 Lincoln Avenue, Bronx, New York. After this pandemic, after we are open, please come to the Bronx Native shop and experience the vibes. You can follow us on all social media platforms at the Bronx Native. That's at Bronx Native. Check us out. We're posting things every day. Check out our shop, bronxnativeshop.com, and everything we do. Thank you again, my man. And I just want to tell everyone out there going through a little struggle, going through a little challenging times at this moment. We got this. All right. We're
Yeah,
all in this together. Everyone is going through similar situations. Right, we're gonna get through this, and after we get through this, we are gonna be stronger. We're gonna be smarter. We are gonna be better. We're gonna be equipped with the things we need to get through life. All right. So let's make it
that's
happen.
right.
Let's stay up. Much love. And real quick, can I get a yeah?
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much,
it.
sir. I appreciate you very much. We will definitely do this again. And drive safely, get home safe, and we'll talk soon, man.
Thank you. Have a good one,
Take
buddy.
care.
Take care.
You got it. Take care, man. All right. That was a lot of fun. So, yeah, he was on his way. I'm going to let that flash down there at the bottom. Well, not going to let it flash because I don't be flashing anybody. But I'm going to put that down there. That's his GoFundMe. So, yeah, I grew up in the South Bronx in the 70s and 80s. 70s, the Bronx was burning. The 80s, we had crack. So the upbringing was a little bit different. As I got older, I started appreciating more of the Bronx. And the last maybe 5 years, I've been really researching what's happening up there. And I've met a lot of people up there recently as well. And I go back and I've done a couple of things up there with Casita Maria. And it's a organization over there. And now I met the Bronx Native uh, people and a few other people that I've met. So, um, it's an important borough. It's the only borough attached to the mainland. Robert Klein always said that. He's in the Bronx. So, very, very great interview. I appreciate everybody out there. Thank you so much. If you like this show and if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell there so you get a notification. And if you're interested in on Facebook, it's just John Henry Soto on Facebook. And I think I'm also on Periscope, but I don't know how many people are on Periscope, but I'm on Periscope. It's Twitter, basically. So thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you all so much. God bless you. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow night for the Music Makers Show. Peace.